Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time to attend this presentation. I know your time is precious, so let's just get straight to business. Before we begin, just a little bit of background information. In July of this year, the Tongan government and the Australian government, as part of their AusAid program to the kingdom, signed an agreement for a grant of 40,000 Tongan paanga for the implementation of a digitization project in Tonga. Tonga Traditions Committee Archives is aiming to be awarded this fund for the implementation of a digitization project at their repository to further preserve fragile traditional documents relating to the Tongan royal household and Tongan culture. However, before the archives can propose a digitization project, they first should conduct the following evaluation study, which is to evaluate the impact of digitization projects in archival institutions in Tonga. First and foremost, why is it important to conduct such a study? Well, the Tonga Traditions Archives would be the first government department to attempt to implement a digitization project. Secondly, the study would give the archives an insight into the components of exactly what is involved in the implementation of a digitization project. Thirdly, the study would provide the archives with a clear roadmap or framework of areas which funding should be spent on. And lastly, conducting the study would allow the archives to be accountable and transparent in their actions and choices of spending the grant towards the Tongan government and the Australian government. Participants in this study would include 3 non-government archives. The first is the Free Wesleyan Church, Dr. Moulton Library Archives, which is located at the oldest college in Tonga, which is Tupou College, Tolo. The second is the Catholic Sangato Paulo Archives, located at Totaimana, Valoloa. And lastly is the Church of Latter-day Saints Family Heritage Digital Archives at Liahona. As you can all see, these institutions are all church-based, and each differ in the nature of the collections kept. The main reason as to why they were chosen was the fact that they have already implemented a digitization project at their institution, and it would be interesting to learn from their encounters and experiences of any problems or any issues and how they dealt with these issues, and provide the Tonga Traditions Committee Archives with worthy lessons. Each institution, 5 key areas will be studied. Firstly, the reason as to why the institution implemented a digitization project. Secondly, costs for each of the projects. Thirdly, any problems they had encountered and how they dealt with these problems. Observe any long-term maintenance plans at each of the institutions, and also note the time frames for the implementation of projects at each institution. The study would be conducted through face-to-face interviews with selected experts from each institution, directors, records managers, records officers, and project managers. Additionally, after the interviews, researchers will also observe and report any problems, tasks, or issues from each institution. As this is the first study that will ever be conducted by any government department, there are bound to be mistakes. However, there will also be lessons that will be learned. Nevertheless, common threats include biases, errors, lack of external validity. However, there are certain methods in place to ensure that these threats are kept to a minimum. The total cost for carrying out the study would amount to 2,018 Tongan paanga. This would cover costs for fuel, for transport between sites, printing, distribution, salary of the researchers, or any overtime, and any overhead costs. Though it may seem too expensive a cost to conduct such a small study, the long-term results uncovered by the study would outweigh this cost. Like the saying goes, no pain, no gain. Lastly, the anticipated outcomes of the study include providing the archives with a clear framework of what is involved in the implementation of a digitization project. Secondly, also providing the archives with key areas of focus to spend funding. Thirdly, also allowing the archives to keep in mind any plans for long-term maintenance of the project once it has been implemented. On that note, I leave you with the words of the great Maximus Meridius of the Gladiator. What we do in life echoes in eternity, and if we Tongans are to ensure the survival of our cultural and traditional heritage, then a successful digitization project is required, and only by conducting this study could this be achieved? Thank you.